I think Russell Brunson is full of shit. Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. I'm an ex-pro hockey coach, amateur championship hockey coach, turned 8-figure entrepreneur. You can download a copy of my brand new book for free at brassballsvideos.com. Just click on the link below. It's a 22-page brand new book titled 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next 30 Days. And trust me, myself included, we can all in 2024 afford to unfuck our lives. Click on the link below, download it, read it, print it off, share it. I don't care what you do with it. So today I want to talk about the world's #1 most powerful sales tool. And regardless of what you hear on anti-social media or from the so-called experts or the pretend gurus, I call them the long on style, fuzzy-headed academics. They every day something's different, right? If you're not using AI, you're being left behind. If you're not using webinars, you're being left behind. If you're not on social media, you're left behind. If you're not shooting videos like I do here every day, you're being left behind. And 99% of it is just salesmanship horse shit. And talking about Brunson, the reason that I bring him up and I talk about what I call marketing malpractice. You know, some of this advice from these so-called experts, it's very, very dangerous for you, the small business owner, for an entrepreneur, even like myself, because you have to understand that people get misled by the next shiny object. Oh, well, this is the new shiny object, so I have to stop what's working. I have to stop the blocking and tackling in my business, and I have to chase this next magic bean or magic button or hack or whatever the hell they want to call it, instead of staying to the blocking and tackling fundamentals. It's like flies and mosquitoes. It's just next thing. And this is how these guys make their money. And admittedly, I mean, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. You can't take what I say at face value. You have to have a proven track record. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, I call it marketing malpractice. It's dangerous advice dispensed by gurus to sell their products and services. The one thing that, if you take anything from this video, and I learned this in the pro hockey business, and I learned this then eventually when I got into the insurance business, when you're taking advice from anybody or you're reading or you're listening, myself included, is make sure that if you're going to model somebody, you're going to model somebody that's getting the type of results in a certain area of your life, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whether it's relationships. If you decide to model somebody, to listen to them, to follow them, to take their advice, for God's sakes, make sure, absolutely make sure that you're modeling what they do, not what they say. That is such a huge thing. Like I always say, you know, follow winners. If you're struggling in an area of your life, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whether it's marketing, whether it's a relationship with your children, it does not matter. But when you decide to take advice from somebody, in this example, marketing or peak performance or mental health, just make sure that the person you're taking advice from is somebody who's already won at the highest level. They're the world's best at that exact thing. And secondly, they're still winning at that level. They're still in the game. They're still in the trenches. They're still putting up the W's. And then just like I mentioned, make sure the advice that they're dispensing isn't marketing malpractice, that it's actually what they do in their business. Not the product they're trying to sell, not the story they're trying to weave, but how does Tony Robbins really build his business? How does Tony Robbins really market his seminars? And this has always been a pro tip that I've followed, is watch what people do, not what they say. And it just, like, when it comes to this topic, like, in my experience, 31 years in business, I've been in the trenches as a small business owner for 3 decades and counting. Everything from the insurance business, the window cleaning business, selling books, garage sales when I was a kid, lemonade stands when I was a kid, hockey camps, tennis clinics, barber shop business, restaurant business. It's just endless. And in those 31 years, without any shadow of a doubt, the number one most powerful tool, sales tool, that I have ever used, bar none, is a book. That's a writer-downer. In my experience, in 31 years, in every single industry that I've been involved in, including fundraising, including the hockey business, including barbershop business, coaching, consulting, you name it. The number one most powerful sales tool for me, yours relentless, has been a book. It's not even close, my brother. It's not even close. So when I read this email the other day from Brunson about how everybody needs a webinar. Well, a few weeks before that, he said everybody needed a book. So which is it? Do I need a book, or do I need a webinar, or do I need AI? So no, you don't need a webinar. And not everybody needs a webinar. Maybe webinars work for him. I mean, he's in a position where he can pay $15 to $20 for a person to sign up for a webinar. He's got the ability to buy clients at that pace. But what if you're a small business owner and entrepreneur and you have a limited marketing budget? There's not a lot of room for marketing malpractice when you can't afford to pay $20 for a lead on Facebook or anti-social media. So take it from me. I've been in the webinar game before. For 2 years, I was in the webinar game. I would eat, sleep, and breathe webinars. And we generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales for our coaching and consulting business with a webinar. But it was absolutely never number one. And the only time we invested time and energy and money into a webinar is when we are done the number one thing. When we had written the book, the physical book, when we had a book funnel. You can check out my book funnel at nobullbook.com, and you can buy a physical copy and I'll ship it to you with a free t-shirt. It's a $100 book. It's a $100 physical book. It's a print book. But we literally had to maximize that as the tool to build this business before I ever thought of anything else. Anything else, whether it was webinars, whether it was, email marketing, whether all that stuff. Nothing can outperform a book. And there's 2 types of books, in my opinion. Number one, of course, is the paper and ink book. That's the book that I sell at nobullbook.com. That's the book. I had a physical book in the insurance business. It made me the number one insurance agent in the country for a decade. As soon as I got into the barbershop business, what's the very first sales and marketing tool I designed? A simple book, a barbershop book. Did anybody read the book? No. Did people order the book? Yes. And did it position us as completely in a level of our own with authority, referrals? Did it help us be the most expensive? Yes. It was all about positioning. Do you know I wrote a simple book when I got in the hockey business for our fans? Not for our athletes, for our fans. I wanted to position myself as an owner as the most talked about, most referred, and most respected owner in our league? Well, my go-to is always a book. And I used to give these books out at games with season tickets. It was less than 25 pages, but it was a book. And people would look at me differently. They would talk to me differently. We had the highest ticket prices in the entire league. We were number one in corporate support after being in the bottom when I bought it. We had 7 straight years I owned the team. We were number one in season tickets, in total attendance, in playoff revenues. We were a sales machine. What was the number one sales tool that I used in the sport of hockey, family entertainment? Was that simple book. Nobody read that book. Nobody cared about that book. But when they saw that book with their season tickets, when they saw that book with their corporate sponsorship, when that book was left in their seat or in their mailbox, wow, these guys are the New York Yankees. These guys are the Dallas Cowboys. These guys are they're different. They can charge more. They're clearly the experts. So you show me an industry where a book can't help position you as the most talked about, the most respected, and the most referred entrepreneur in that. If I went into the jewelry store business, the very first thing I would do would be to write a book. The second thing I would do, I would start building my email newsletter list. When I went into the barbershop business, I got the guy consulting. I didn't know anything about the barbershop business. I never had a pair of scissors in my hand. And right off the bat, I wanted to be the highest priced. I wanted to be the most respected. I wanted to be the most referred. I wanted to be the most talked about barbershop in our entire region. So I sat down in a couple days and wrote a 25-page book about something as mundane as barbering. I talked in there about hot towel shaves. I talked about different styles. I talked about how to pick a barber. And I don't know if anybody read the book, and who cares? We gave away thousands and thousands of copies of that barbershop book for free, and it positioned our shop as the go-to place. We're able to charge at least double what everybody else. This way we weren't competing with super clips or sports clips or any of these cheaper, this guy's got a book. This guy is the king of barbering. The same thing in the insurance business. I mean, like I had the book, I forget the title now, it was 11 Ways to Save Money on Your Blank Insurance. Contracting insurance, home insurance, auto insurance, whatever it was. We literally mailed thousands and thousands of requested copies. It wasn't an ebook, it was a physical book in those days. And I don't think anybody cracked a page. Why would you? But man, when that arrived in the prospect's mailbox, it was like, wow, this guy is different than Geico. This guy is different than Progressive. I wasn't on the price battlefield anymore. They're like, this guy's number one for a reason. He's an author. He's a writer. And I could feel it when I was back in the sales days of writing home and car insurance, when the person would walk into my office and they had received the book in the mail. They had received my shock and awe quote kit. And the language and the positioning was totally different. I wasn't an order taker like every other salesperson. I was not an order taker. I was, you know what? It was apples to oranges. It was their privilege. It was their, it was their privilege to become a client. Well, I like to deal with the best, and Michael's the best. He's an author. He's a speaker. He's got a book on this. He's clearly the best. He's the most talked about. He's the most referred. He's the most respected insurance agent, barber, hockey coach, hockey team owner, window washing business, jeweler. Just go down the list. And it all comes from the number one sales tool in the world, a physical or secondary, an electronic e-digital book. If you can't do a physical book, which has the most impact, and admittedly I do both, The next best thing is an ebook. Not a checklist, not a crib sheet, not something, some hack or some unicorn promise, but a book, an absolute book. And I mean, as soon as I decided to get back in the consulting business, this business here, the very first thing is I sat down and I wrote that 280-page book. How to not get your ass kicked in business and life. It was a physical book. And then how did I grow this membership from almost nobody to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs like you? How did I do it? With that physical book. With that physical book. Not with emails. Didn't have any emails. Not with these videos every day out here walking and talking. No. It all started with the book. I started marketing the book on Facebook. And people would buy the book anywhere from $50 to $150. They'd get a t-shirt. And then I FedEx this physical book. And look at the impact I have. They got a FedEx delivery guy dropping off this package. Inside's one of these free, badass t-shirts. And look at the impact I have compared to a webinar or a cheat sheet. Webinars, the dark side of webinars that none of these so-called experts even talk about is the fact that nobody shows up. Nobody shows up. So you advertise your company, whatever it is, to cold traffic. I don't care if you're on Instagram or YouTube or whatever the hell you're on. It's going to cost you close to $20 to get a person to sign up for your webinar. $20 a person. And then you're going to have half those people not show up for the live training. And it's all pro wrestling too, because it's all horseshit. And people are so onto it and they're so skeptical about that kind of stuff. Anything to do with social media, anything to do with webinars, anything to do with AI. It's just people are so skeptical. It's pro wrestling. They don't believe it. They've been scammed. They've been misled. They know it's not reality, and it's fake. Sign up for the webinar right now because it's starting in 1 minute and 13 seconds. Well, holy fuck, it's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's like I almost missed this groundbreaking webinar, but it's amazing. It's starting in the next 60 seconds. Thank goodness I better jump on. And then they beat the shit out of you with the text messages and the emails. And then when you don't show up, they pound away at the replay. I'm going to take this down. That's ultimate pro wrestling marketing, where people are they roll their eyes. At least when you go to a pro wrestling, if you went into the WWE or whatever the hell it's called, at least Vince McMahon does a good job of saying, you know what? This is just entertainment. I'm in the sports entertainment business. This is about escaping for a few hours, having a few laughs, enjoying some entertainment. If it's your deal, it's your deal. If it's not, it's not. But they're not trying to pretend that they're serious. They're not, it's not douchebag marketing where, pro wrestling where this is not true. It's all fake. And the thing is, when you start a relationship with a book, you're starting the foundation of something real. First of all, you're attracting somebody with a functioning brain. See, the great thing about the insurance business, the hockey business, the window cleaning business, and the consulting business, when I started with a physical book, I'm attracting what? I'm attracting a reader. I'm attracting a student, which is so important when you're out there advertising on social media or in magazines like I was. You want to attract a reader. You want to attract somebody who's got a functioning prefrontal cortex. You want to attract somebody who can focus for more than 3 to 7 seconds. And it's the foundation because all of my stuff requires attention. My videos are half an hour long. My newsletters are 22 pages. I got physical books. I got long telegrams. You can't consume my stuff. My stuff can't help you if you're one of these punch-drunk tomato cans. If you're one of these low IQ cell phone, iPhone junkies, if you're an iPhone junkie who's suffering from manufactured mental illness and you have a 3-second or 7-second attention span, I can't help you. I can't help you. My whole business is based on serious people. If you're a serious person, there's a chance I can help you. But if you're a very unserious person, like 99% of people, I cannot. So books not only attract the best of the best, books attract the best of the best. They attract my kings, my champions, my contenders, my ballers, my builders. Books attract the best of the best, readers, students. But also books repel. And I didn't know this earlier in my career. When I offered a book at the insurance agency, at the barber shop, with my hockey team, and even earlier in consulting, books repel the low IQ normies you don't want. You don't want those people near your business, the brokies, the normies, the tomato cans, those toxic people. They're wearing out your staff. They're negative. They're always, they're tire kickers and bargain hunters and the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. Plus, you can't charge what you're worth. So whatever industry I go into, I want to be the highest paid. In the barbershop business, I was the highest paid. He's got the highest prices. In the insurance business, we never once had even close to the lowest prices. Same thing in this consulting business, like $50,000 masterminds, $30,000 masterminds, $100 books. I'm one of the highest paid guys in the consulting business. I'm not interested in attracting freebie seekers or mooches or any of these people. So books does the most awesome thing. It did it in the insurance business. It got rid of the time vampires and the energy vampires. It did the same in the barbershop business. Those guys that we didn't want anywhere near our business were repelled by a book. So they went to Super Clips, or they went to Sports Clips, or wherever they could get a $15 haircut. And I admittedly, I didn't know that. But books repel the low IQ guys and gals you want nothing to do with. They save so much time. But when I hear talk about you need a webinar, or you need to be using AI, or you need to be posting every day on social media, and you need to be creating content, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you can only do one or two things. And in my 31 years in business, you ask me this question, I'm going to answer it honestly. The number one most powerful sales tool I have ever used is a book. Number one, a physical timber, paper and print book that's shipped to a prospect or a new client. And secondly, if you don't do that, at least make it a digital ebook. An ebook. Attract serious people, attract readers, attract students, attract men and women that'll consume your content. And then after they consume your content, or at least order it, all of a sudden you're positioned as the most talked about, the most celebrated, the most referred. And because it's a book, because you're now an author, self-published author, you're the most respected person in your niche. That's the way I want to operate. I want to shoot fish in a barrel. I want to be a big deal in a small pond. I want to be a big fish in a tiny pond. How do you do that? Write a book. Well, Michael, I could never write a book on insurance or real estate or candlestick making or golfing or any of that stuff. Are you kidding me? You can write a book in a couple of hours, because a book can be 10 pages, it can be 20 pages, a book could be 7 pages. When you take out all the fluff and all the theory and all the BS, most books should be 20 pages. It's like the book that I wrote here for anybody that wants to download it, brassballsvideos.com. You know why it's 22 pages instead of 280 like my other book? Because it should be 22 pages. That's all I had to say. And when I got down to and got the throat clearing out of the way, it was 20 pages, 22 pages. There's 5 ways that I know to unfuck your life in the next month. So if it takes 5 pages to explain those things, or 20, or 100 or 200, that's what it should take. So stop with the excuse and the whining and the complaining about, oh, I couldn't write a book. You get up a couple of mornings early by an hour and you turn off that dumb phone and you can easily write a book in a couple of hours or a couple of days. You know, my friend and client, newsletter subscriber, the great Matt Fury, I mean, Matt takes all of his old newsletters. He does a monthly newsletter. He's got 2 of the best newsletters on planet Earth. I subscribe to both of them. But here's the thing. His stuff is evergreen. This is a guy who knows the power of books and physical newsletters. And he takes these newsletters that we've all paid for, which I'm happy to do. They're tremendous. And then he repackages them, maybe 5 of the newsletters, 10 of the newsletters. He makes them into special reports. He puts them in a binder, and they're a new book. And serious students like myself, I have to admit, I buy them again without any hesitation. I love it. And, you know, the top guys do this. So if you have old newsletters, if you have old blog posts, if you have any content creation you've done in the last 20 years, all you need to do is grab that stuff off the interwebs and update it. And even you can hire somebody to do that. Put it all into a binder or whatever the hell you want to call it. Put a letter at the start, and there, boom, you got yourself a book. You can give it away for free. You can charge $1. You can charge $37. You can charge $100, or in some cases, like I've seen Matt do it, we've done it a long time, is, you know, that book is $400 or $1,000. It all depends on the value. But this is the opposite of marketing malpractice, is understanding that the most powerful weapon in advertising, in marketing, the most powerful weapon you can ever have in your hands is a book. You know the way it is. People are we're programmed and brainwashed that if a person's an author, they're the best. They're the highest paid, they're the most respected, they're a celebrity. Do you think that in this celebrity-crazed society that we live now in 2024, where it's entertainment, audience, celebrity, that a book now is even more powerful than ever before? Because you're positioning yourself as a celebrity, as an influencer, as a writer, as an author. So I think physical books and digital books, to a lower extent, are more powerful than ever before. A book has been my #1 sales weapon, #1 by a country mile, for 31 years. But in 2024 now, I call it non-optional behavior. In fact, I wouldn't try to enter any niche. I wouldn't start up any small business. I wouldn't try to do any consulting. I wouldn't even go back in the hockey business unless I first wrote a book. And that's the old Robert Ringer leapfrog theory when you think about it. Robert Ringer is the great Robert Ringer wrote one of the books that transformed my life 25 years ago when I finally started reading books. He wrote How to Win Through Intimidation. And they actually made him change that title because they thought it was too harsh and too offensive. But I still have that book, How to Win Through Intimidation, one of the greatest books I've ever read. But Ringer talked about the leapfrog theory. Well, what the hell is the leapfrog theory? Well, the leapfrog theory is a book, not a webinar, not a phone call, not a tweet, not a crib sheet, not a checklist, not a series of 8 videos, a book. Because Ringer talked about the fact that, listen, and I'll use me as an example. I could have sat around in the insurance business for 50 years. I'd still be sitting in that chair. And I would have climbed the ladder, and gradually I would have started to eke out a living. I would have been the same as everybody else. I would have been ordinary, average, mediocre. Or Ringer said, you can just appoint yourself as number one in any industry. That's worth thinking about again. You can either wait around for somebody to anoint you or appoint you and say, oh, he's the best, or she's number one, or are you kidding me? You'll die at your desk waiting for that. Or you can take Robert Ringer's advice and anoint yourself and appoint yourself as the celebrity broker, the celebrity jeweler, the celebrity contractor. And you do it immediately. I entered the insurance field. People laughed, right? They said, what does he know? He's a hockey puck guy. All he knows is coaching hockey and playing hockey. So I walk into the most skeptical industry. I wouldn't know an insurance policy from a basketball. 1 year later, I own my dad's company. I'm starting to buy it, but I had used the concept of leapfrog, and guess what MJM did? I wrote a book. I wrote a simple book. It was in a spiral bound book here. It was like 40 pages, 11 ways to save money on your insurance. Nobody read it. Nobody cared. But guess what it allowed me to do? It allowed me to leapfrog over all the other stale, dull, and boring insurance agents. And all of a sudden, people were bringing me in to speak at the Rotary Club about insurance. I was asked to speak at seminars. I was asked to speak at the Chamber. All of a sudden, I win Businessman of the Year. Me? I 12 months before that, I was shooting pucks into a net. Speak about insurance. That's the power of the number one most powerful tool on earth, a book. And it doesn't have to be 200 pages, and it doesn't have to be published by some New York City publishing house. You can put it together in a few hours. You can put a title on it, whatever you want, just like I did with this latest one that you can get at the link below. And use that as an example, by the way. Okay? Like, go to the link below, you opt in, and I send you the book. If you don't want to stay on my list, who cares? Who cares? I do this because I love this shit, and I'm in a safe harbor position, so I do this stuff for fun. It's great to make money, but I do this stuff because I love it. I don't like it. I love it. So you download it, the 5 ways to unfuck your life, but study how simple this digital book is. Look how simple the landing page is. You go there, it's got a headline that says what the book will do for you. All you have to do is put in your email. That's it. And then if you still don't believe me, if you think I'm a crook or a shovel seller, which I don't blame you if you don't know me, because it's all pro wrestling, right? All these marketing douchebags everywhere. People are fed up with it. So then I have pages of testimonials from some of the most impressive entrepreneurs in every industry. So that's called preponderance of proof. In other words, headline, picture of the book, opt into the book if you want it. If you're still not sold, here's all of the people that I've worked with over the last 20 years. Here's what they have to say. And that's all you have to do to get your book going. You get the book, you put a title on it, and you have a little landing page like that. That's the ugliest landing page on earth. brassballsvideos.com. It looks like a 6-year-old put it together. No, actually, I shouldn't be so biased towards 6-year-olds. My landing page looks like I put it together, like a tech dinosaur. It looks like an email caveman like me put it together. But I don't give a shit. You either want the book or you don't. I'm not charging you for it, but I'm not going to douche it out either. I'm not going to say, you know, this is the next greatest thing and you've got to do this and here's the shiny object and oh, books are new, and it's almost like that newsletter email stuff that's out there. I made my fortune by building email lists and emailing people. That's it. All of a sudden now, everybody has an email newsletter. So when this started to happen a couple years ago, you know, all of a sudden email was sexy again with the young crowd. Oh my God, you've got to have an email newsletter. So I remember the first time I was at the traffic funnels or whatever the hell seminar, and I said to myself, I said, what the fuck is an email newsletter? Am I missing out? Am I 12th man on the deal team here, last to know? And then I figured out about 5 minutes later, because the year before, the sexy, shiny object at the seminar was the webinar. If you didn't have a webinar, you were a loser. The year before that, you had to acquire cell phones. If you didn't get people's cell phone numbers to text them to death, you were a loser. But then this year, which was only a couple of years ago, oh my God, I made $10 million with my email newsletter. So I was stunned because I've been in the newsletter game for, 20 some years. I'm like, what's the hell's the difference between an email and an email newsletter? Well, I find out there wasn't much other than the fact that it's new and it's shiny. And by the way, that's coming to an end as well, right? There's a big bubble. There's a new, you start to see these guys, they see now that it's hard to write an email newsletter. It's hard to build a list. So all of a sudden, these guys now are putting their businesses up for sale. I can buy an email newsletter in my niche today for pennies on the dollar because guys don't show up, right? I'm gonna send a couple email newsletters a week and I'm gonna build my list. Like fuck you are. You ain't gonna do any of it. You're on to the next shiny thing. I'm gonna write a book. No, you're not. No, you're not. So it just goes to show you the fundamentals, that number one most powerful sales tool was the most powerful sales tool 100 years ago. Think and Grow Rich, a book as an example. The Holy Bible, for goodness sakes. Now, 50 years ago, a book would have been the number one sales tool. And here we are now in 2024, and I think a real book or a digital book is the most powerful sales tool you can put in your hands to attract the absolute avatar prospect. That's the other side of this. It's not about building a list. It's about building a mailing list and an email list with buyers. So when you go and you buy some of my stuff, I sell my books for $1. I sell them for $100. I'm attracting buyers. I'm attracting serious people. And you can do the same thing in any business you're in. Well, Michael, my business is different. No, it's not different. I've used a book in every industry. When I work with guys that are in every type of business on God's green earth, I'm just like, your book is your business card. I call it the thud factor. So I walked in when I was an insurance agent into a big, let's say to have a meeting with a big business. It's going to be a $50,000 account. Everybody else walks in maybe with a flimsy business card. Well, yours unruly walks in with a 100-page or a 50-page book, boom, drops it on the guy's desk. It's over, as Dana White would say. I got the thud factor. I go and I recruit a hockey player. Everybody's got their business card or they give out their cell phone. Stale, dull, boring, ordinary. MJM walks in, boom. There's the book I wrote on hockey coaching. Same thing in the barber shop business. I don't know where to get my hair cut, and I want to get ready for the wedding, and I want to take the groomsmen. These are $1,000 accounts every weekend. Here's the book. We wrote the book on barbering. Boom! That's my business card. So which business card would you rather have? Some little thing on, your profile on Twits and Twitter, or maybe you have a website, or maybe you have a little webinar, or maybe you actually even have a little business card. I'm coming in with a book. And I'm going to take you to the woodshed. I have the most powerful tool, marketing tool, sales tool in the world in my back pocket, and I'm not afraid to use it. So the question becomes, how soon can you get your book written? 20 pages, 15 pages, 10 pages, 50 pages. You're not writing the next Harry Potter, okay? You're not trying to be the next John Grisham. You're not trying to be the next Stephen King. All you're trying to do is write a book that becomes the ultimate bait for where you're fishing. You're fishing in a fishing hole. Visualize this. You're sitting in a fishing hole. This is your fishing hole. Garage owners, or people that buy Rolex watches, or people that are learning to play pickleball, or fundraisers. Whatever it is, you're sitting in your fishing hole. What are you going to put on your fishing pole? What's the bait? Are you going to hang a little webinar on your hook? Are you going to put something on that hook, like a book, a real book with a kick-ass title that solves a problem where you go fishing in a barrel. You literally, every time you put the line in the pond, boom, you caught your whale. Boom, you caught your whale. Boom, you caught your whale. The bait you put on the hook is everything. And I've never had better bait than a book. Ever. Not a webinar. Not a video series. Not a the 30-minute strategy call. What the hell? Talk about douching it up. Call for a 45-minute free strategy call. It's a sales call. People aren't that brain dead. They know it's pro wrestling. They know you're lying, and you're starting the relationship as a bullshit artist. That's the other thing that I didn't talk about, is how do you want to start a relationship with your prospect? How do you want to start a relationship with your customer or your client? Do you want to start it as a bullshit artist, as some gypsy or some, crackpot shovel seller? Or do you want to start it on cement foundation? This guy he's giving me information. He's looking out for me. He's honest. He's high character. He's a teacher. He's positioning, not prospecting. This guy's an author. He's a speaker. He's a CEO. He clearly is the best. Or do you want to start it as a charlatan? Whoa, we tricked them into buying. Whoa, we got them on that strategy call and hard closed them out of their $5,000. Like, if you have any brains at all, you're always thinking lifetime customer. Lifetime customer value. I don't care whether a new lead, a good lead, costs me $300 in the insurance business to make the phone ring. It used to cost $340 for the phone to ring. And I was happy to pay that all year. That was that all day long. That was TV, that was radio, that was print, that was email. So the phone would ring, $340, and we would close 71% of those phone calls. I wouldn't make any money the first year. I wouldn't make any money the second year in the insurance business. But then I'd make money the third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, all the way. And on average, we kept each client for 11.3 years. I know my numbers. Same thing. It doesn't matter if I charge $100 for a book at nobullbook.com. I'm not making money on that because I have to pay I got to pay Zuckerberg and those guys to get your attention. But I'm happy with that. I'm not going to make any money the first year. I'm not going to make any money the second year. But if I treat you with respect and I treat you, like with integrity, the third year, the fourth year, the fifth year, I'm building a relationship. So I start with a book because I want to start my relationships on concrete, not quicksand, on concrete. And no, I don't want to snivel you into something or trick you into something or hack your way into something or fool you into something. And then I'm not running a boiler room. Most of these clowns are running a boiler room, right? If we can just get them on a webinar, or we can just get them to watch this free video series, we can get them on a phone call, and my setters, I love that name, they're all called now setters. They're not called salesmen or saleswomen, but my setters will talk to them and they'll set them up and we'll close them down. We'll get them into that coaching program, or we'll get them into this timeshare. That's the oldest book. That's the oldest trick in the book. My dad used to get phone calls about timeshares. Are you kidding me? That's old school, grimy, sleazy salesmanship. That's charlatan stuff. That's gold. That's shovel sellers in the old old gold digging days. The shovel sellers were the men that made the money, not the people looking for gold. So I don't know where I was going with all this stuff. I promised myself I wasn't going to rant and rave, but I can't help myself because I believe in books. I believe that they're the greatest way to attract an awesome client, an awesome patient, an awesome prospect, and they're the number one most powerful marketing tool, sales tool, advertising tool on earth. And I stand by that. And anybody who disagrees, I'll put my numbers against your numbers over the last 31 years anytime. Anytime. I'll go to bat anytime. You want to build a book funnel versus a webinar funnel versus a video funnel versus a cheat sheet funnel, and we want to count dollars and cents and lifetime customer value, I'll kick your ass 6 ways to Sunday with half my brains tied behind my back. Get and write a book. It doesn't have to be the next bestseller. Put up an ugly, simple page that attracts people where they can download the book or buy the book, and then put both feet on the gas pedal, take the book with you, fill your vehicle with books. It's my business card. It's the thud factor, and separate yourself from everybody else in your niche. You'll be the most talked about, the most referred, the most famous, the most respected expert in your industry. You're no longer a generalist, a low-paid generalist. You're now the brain surgeon in your niche. You run a pizzeria, be the brain surgeon. You run a golf club, be the brain surgeon in that niche. You help nonprofits raise funds, be the brain surgeon in that niche. Be the celebrity, be the influencer, be the high-paid brain surgeon. All the respect, all the authority, all the referrals, using the greatest sales tool, most powerful sales tool in history, a beautiful, beautiful book. If you want to see how it's done, click on that link below. You're lucky it's free because most of my books are $100. But this is one I put together in a couple hours. 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. Maybe you're one of these guys or gals who's perfect, so you don't need any help. But if you're like me, and 50 years from now, God willing, I'll still need to unfuck my life. But you go to that page, you study the page, you study the book, you share it with people that it can help, and then notice how from that moment on, it's all about the book, the book, the book, the book, the book. The number one most powerful sales tool in the world in 2024 is a book. Get busy writing and self-publishing and giving away and selling yours. automatically you become the king or queen of your niche. As Robert Ringer would say, time to leapfrog the herd. Time to leapfrog the quiet desperation crowd. Time to leapfrog everybody in the middle and anoint and appoint yourself the highest paid, most respected, and most talked about entrepreneur in your niche. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change yours. Be relentless.